Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're setting out to give you a clear, concise, and hopefully really insightful look at Siddhartha Gautama.
The man who became the Buddha.
Exactly. We're not just, listing facts here. We want to extract the blueprint, the core ideas of a philosophy that millions follow.
A path designed to end suffering.
Right. How did a prince give up absolutely everything, and what universal truths did he uncover when he finally achieved enlightenment?
And it helps to place him historically, I think. We're talking 6th century BCE, a really dynamic time for philosophy, for spiritual seeking.
Okay.
He was born in Lumbini, which is in modern-day Nepal. And his journey, it wasn't just personal. It really set up a whole new way of looking at existence.
Right, at a time when a lot of foundational beliefs were still being hammered out.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's get into that life story, starting with his, pretty unusual early years. So the sources paint this picture of Siddhartha's childhood as like a gilded cage almost, a prince born to rule. His father, King Sustadana, basically tried to engineer a life completely free of any kind of misery or unpleasantness.
It was all wealth, beauty, sensory overload, really. Everything designed for pleasure, for satisfaction.
A controlled experiment in happiness, you could say.
You could.
Yeah.
The king figured if Siddhartha only knew pleasure, he'd never want to leave, never question things.
But even then...
Exactly. Even when someone has literally everything the world values, status, comfort, luxury, there can still be this deep sense that something isn't right.
Like an itch you can't scratch.
Yeah, the soul, or whatever you want to call it, it knows something's missing, even if the body's perfectly content.
And that underlying feeling, that sort of unease, it leads to this huge turning point.
The moment he finally steps outside the palace walls.
Right. And he sees what everyone calls the foresights.
These are absolutely critical because they show him the raw reality he'd been completely shielded from. First, an old man, showing the inevitable decay of the body. Then a sick man, revealing how fragile health is.
Okay.
And third, a corpse. The stark, undeniable fact of death.
Wow. I mean, just those three had to be utterly crushing, right?
Yeah.
Just lead to despair.
It could have. But then came the fourth sight, and this changed everything.
He saw a wandering ascetic.
Yes. A holy man, a seeker, someone who had chosen to renounce the world. Voluntarily.
Ah, so that provided a different possibility.
Exactly. It wasn't just suffering, death. It was, okay, here's the suffering, but maybe here's a path away from it. A way to deal with these inescapable truths of aging, sickness, death, impermanence.
And the effect was immediate.
Completely decisive. At 29, he makes this incredible choice, the great renunciation.
He just walks away.
Walks away from his title, his wife, his newborn son, all the wealth, trades the fancy robes for, simple cloth, becomes a homeless wanderer, determined to find the root cause of all this suffering, and crucially, the solution.
So he leaves the palace, and he doesn't just dip his toes in, right? He goes all in.
Oh, absolutely. He spends years exploring the spiritual practices that were common then. Intense meditation, yes, but also really extreme asceticism.
Like serious self-denial.
Punishing, pushing the body to its absolute limits, fasting, discomfort, trying to conquer physical existence through sheer willpower and deprivation.
People sometimes gloss over that part, don't they?
They do, but it's key. Because he pushed himself almost to the point of death. And it was through that extremity that he had his next big insight.
Which was?
That this self-torture, it wasn't the answer either. It was just the other side of the coin from luxury.
How so? If he's denying himself everything, isn't that the opposite of clinging or attachment?
Well, yes and no.
Yeah.
He realized he was still attached. He was attached to the goal of conquering suffering through pain, clinging fiercely to the idea that hurting himself would somehow purify him.
I see. So indulgence was one extreme.
And self-mortification was the other, both fueled by a kind of desperate mental clinging just to different things. Neither was true detachment.
So he needed a middle way.
Exactly. A path that avoided both self-indulgence and self-hatred. And this realization, this balance, is what leads him to the final step.
The moment of awakening.
Right. He finds this fig tree, we now call it the Bodhi tree, in Bodh Gaya, sits down, and basically vows, I'm not getting up until I figure this out.
Wow.
He enters this state of incredibly deep, focused meditation, exploring the nature of mind, reality, suffering.
And there, under the tree,
he attains full enlightenment, complete understanding. The transformation is total.
He's no longer Siddhartha the seeker.
No. From that point on, he is the Buddha, which means the awakened one. He'd woken up to the fundamental laws of existence.
Okay, so he's achieved this profound state. Now what? He starts teaching, right? And the foundation seems incredibly logical, almost like a diagnosis and treatment plan.
That's a great way to put it. It starts with the Four Noble Truths. This is the core framework.
Right. The first truth.
The first is the diagnosis. Life inherently involves suffering. The Pali word is dukkha.
Yeah, and dukkha. It's often just translated as suffering, but I feel like that misses some nuance, doesn't it? It sounds so dramatic, maybe.
It does, and that's a really important point. Dukkha is broader than just physical pain or intense mental anguish. It's more like unsatisfactoriness, a fundamental unease. Yeah. Think of like a wheel that's just slightly off kilter. It turns, but it's always a bit bumpy, never perfectly smooth. That's dukkha. It covers everything from stubbing your toe to the existential angst of knowing things change and end.
That makes a lot more sense. And that leads directly to the second truth, the cause.
Yes. The cause of this dukkha, this unsatisfactoriness, is identified as tanha, which means craving, desire, attachment, clinging.
Wanting things to be different than they are.
Exactly. Grasping for pleasure to last forever. Pushing away unpleasantness, trying to hold on to a fixed idea of me or mine in a world that's constantly changing. It's the clinging that causes the pain, not necessarily the thing itself.
Okay, so life involves unease. The cause is clinging. Is there hope?
Yes, absolutely. That's the third truth. There is an end to suffering, Nirodha. It's possible to stop the clinging.
So suffering isn't inevitable, not in the ultimate sense.
Correct. It can be overcome, peace, liberation, it's achievable.
Which brings us to the fourth truth, the how, the path to get there.
The Noble Eightfold Path. This is the practical instruction manual, the prescription, if you like.
And it's not just a random list of 8 things, is it? There's a structure.
The very elegant structure. It's typically grouped into 3 main trainings that you cultivate together: wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline.
Okay, can you break those down a bit? What falls under wisdom?
Sure. Wisdom, or panna, involves right view and right intention. Right view is basically understanding these 4 noble truths correctly, seeing reality as it is, including dukkha, tanha, and nirodha.
Seeing the diagnosis clearly.
Precisely. And right intention is about aligning your motivation, committing yourself to non-harming, to letting go, to kindness. It starts with getting your head straight, essentially.
Makes sense. You need the right map before you start the journey. What about the ethical side? The outward actions?
That's ethical conduct, or sila. This covers right speech, no lying, harsh speech, gossip, right action, not killing, stealing, engaging in sexual misconduct, and right livelihood, earning a living in a way that doesn't harm others.
So making sure your behavior lines up with your understanding and intentions.
Exactly. It grounds the practice in your daily life, in your interactions.
And the third part, the inner work.
That's mental discipline, or samadhi. This includes right effort, actively cultivating positive states of mind and abandoning negative ones. Right mindfulness, being fully present and aware in the moment without judgment. And right concentration, developing deep states of focused meditation.
Wow. So it really is a complete system. Understanding informs action, action supports mental training deepens understanding.
It all works together. It's a holistic path.
Beyond those core truths and the path, the Buddha really emphasized some key ideas that kind of reshape how you even see reality, don't they?
Absolutely. Concepts that challenge our basic assumptions, like anicca.
Impermanence.
The idea that everything changes.
Everything, constantly. Every thought, every feeling, your body, mountains, stars, nothing stays the same. It's a fundamental law.
And really getting that must change how you react to things.
Profoundly. If you truly accept impermanence, you stop desperately clinging to pleasant experiences because you know they'll pass. And maybe more importantly, you stop being quite so terrified of unpleasant ones because you know they also will pass. It allows for a certain equanimity.
Okay, and that idea of constant change, it leads right into what might be the most difficult concept for many people, anatta, non-self.
So this is tricky. If everything is constantly changing, constantly in flux, then this idea we have of a fixed, solid, permanent me, this ego we protect and identify with, well, the Buddha said that's fundamentally an illusion.
And he wasn't saying we don't exist.
No, not at all. He was saying that what we call self is more like a process, an ever-changing collection of physical and mental components, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, consciousness. Like a river, always flowing, never the same water twice.
But we try to freeze the river.
We do. We try to grasp onto a fixed I or mine, and that very grasping, that identification with a non-existent permanent self, is a major source of our clinging, tanha, and therefore our suffering, dukkha.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because if the path is about realizing non-self, about radical detachment, letting go of clinging, how does that square with the huge emphasis the Buddha also placed on, well, active engagement with others, ethics, compassion?
That's a fantastic question, and it points to the real sophistication here. The liberation from the illusion of a separate self isn't about becoming some kind of unfeeling robot or retreating into a shell.
Right.
In fact, it's seen as the necessary step toward genuine, unbiased connection with the world. Once the ego's demands quiet down, what naturally arises is compassion, karuna, and loving-kindness, metta.
So wait, we're letting go of attachment to self, but actively cultivating attachment to the well-being of others. Isn't that still attachment?
But it's a different kind of attachment.
Oh.
Metta isn't the possessive, needy clinging of tanha. It's not, I need you to be happy so I feel good. It's an expansive, selfless wish for the genuine happiness and freedom from suffering for all beings, without exception, yourself included.
Okay, see the distinction. It's not self-serving.
Exactly. Real spiritual growth, in this view, blossoms in that boundless compassion. You shift from seeking fulfillment from the world to finding purpose in contributing to the well-being of the world. Reducing suffering becomes the focus, not personal gain.
And tying all this together, impermanence, non-self, compassion is that practice we mentioned, mindfulness.
Yes, being present. Because if the past is gone, the future isn't here, and the self is constantly changing, what reality do you actually have?
Only this moment, right now.
Right now. Mindfulness is the tool to observe that moment, to see impermanence unfolding without getting caught up in the grasping or the aversion. It's the training ground for wisdom and compassion. Hashtag tag outro.
So after his enlightenment, the Buddha didn't just sit under his tree. He taught for, what, 45 years?
45 years, traveling all over India, sharing these insights with absolutely everyone. Kings, merchants, farmers, other ascetics.
Yeah.
An incredibly active teaching career.
And then, at age 80, he passed away in Kushinagar, achieving what's called parinirvana.
The final release.
Yeah.
The complete cessation of the cycle of rebirth and suffering. He left behind not, divine decree, but a practical path. A body of teachings, ethical, psychological, philosophical.
A legacy showing that inner peace, that awakening isn't dependent on wealth or status. It's accessible.
To everyone. And it's still followed by millions across the world today, which speaks to its enduring power. The core message remains. True happiness isn't out there in external things, but within through wisdom, compassion, and inner peace.
Okay, so we've talked about how the root of suffering, dukkha, is this clinging, this attachment, tanha, and the path involves realizing non-self, anatta, and letting go.
Right.
Yet we ended up focusing heavily on actively cultivating things like loving kindness, metta, and compassion, karuna.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listeners, to chew on. If the ultimate goal is this radical freedom from clinging, freedom from the illusion of a fixed self, how does the deliberate, quite effortful practice of cultivating intense, universal compassion, which feels like a kind of profound connection or even attachment to the welfare of all beings, how does that fit with non-self?
Is that compassion perhaps the ultimate expression of non-self rather than a contradiction? Is it the final non-possessive form of connection that liberation actually enables? Something to definitely mull over.